This is Tom Andrews, and I'm with Erik Lever, who is with the Institute for Policy Studies, actually where we're doing this. And Erik, you have been with us every time that we've done this, although you've been on the other side of the camera. So good to have you on this side of the camera.
I'm glad to be here, and glad to have you at the Institute for Policy Studies.
Yes,
thanks for stopping
it's
by.
Great. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this is being recorded on Thursday, the 8th day of March, and we've had an extraordinary amount of activity today. We had dueling news conferences this morning, one at 9:30, the Out of Iraq Caucus and Progressive Caucus, announcing that they wanted to support a fully funded, safe and orderly withdrawal of our troops, a process to be completed no later than the end of this year, December 31st of this year. And then at 10 o'clock, the leadership of the Democrats, Speaker Pelosi and the whole leadership team, as well as appropriations leaders, had their own news conference in which they described what they would like to see and what they are proposing to put into the Appropriations Committee bill and to have it considered by the Appropriations Committee next week. And we thought we would have a few minutes here just to talk about that, what they're proposing and what we think of it. So can you describe, Erik, a little bit about what the Democrats are proposing, the leadership anyway?
Yeah, well, it's a much-needed discussion simply because it's a very confusing proposal. In fact, when Speaker Pelosi was in her news conference this morning, she had to go over what the details were at least 3 or 4 times for the newscasters to have an understanding of what they're talking about. In simple terms, it's that they're asking for the president by July 1st to certify that Iraq is making some progress towards a set of benchmarks. If he says yes, that there's a set of benchmarks, there'll be a second time frame on October 1st. Where the president will have to say either that Iraq has met those benchmarks or has not met those benchmarks. In either case, that October 1st starts a 6-month timetable for the withdrawal to be completed, which means that
October 1st of this year, and then starting October 1st of this year, 6 months after October 1st of this year. So in the spring of 2008?
Right. So that you would start in March with the process to be completed by October 2008. So essentially that there's 2 possibilities here. One is if the president says, things aren't going well in July, then that means that troops would be home by January 2008. If the president says Iraqis are making some progress, then troops would be home no later than the fall of 2008. So it's essentially that they've given the president a little bit of wiggle room, of a 9-month window or so.
Okay.
But the important part to focus on here is not the specific details of the plan or what the benchmarks are, because they're all very fuzzy. But now we have the Democrats for the first time, in the 4 years of this conflict. We've had the Democrats bring a proposal to the table that will be voted on that has a date certain for withdrawal, and that I think is the important part for us to be focusing on.
Okay, so this is a significant step forward. I mean, we now have a firm deadline. I mean, in other words, even if they met all the benchmarks, and we're talking about oil distribution, local elections, security, and so forth, even if they met all of them, still the plan would go forward to withdraw combat troops from Iraq. Now, what about the definition of combat troops? The Iraq Study Group, for example, said that they recommended that by the spring of 2008 that all combat troops be removed from Iraq. But at the same time, they said training units would remain in Iraq, tens of thousands of them actually, and in fact some of them would be embedded in Iraqi units, which you think about it for a minute and you think, my God, we're going to put our kids, we're going to embed them in Iraqi units during a civil war. Is it clear from this proposal that we mean getting all the troops out, or could there be wiggle room? Could you say, okay, we'll just redefine these troops as non-combat troops, but end up keeping tens of thousands in there? Is that clear?
It's not clear, and as you know, as you've been up on the Hill today trying to actually get a copy of this proposal, nobody has actually seen it. So I think that what we're working off of is a gentleman's agreement that was made late last night or early this morning that then they brought to the table to this press conference without really knowing, what all is going to be in the bill. For instance, we've heard several times that there's going to be language in there about don't attack Iran. But I didn't see anybody talking about that on the news this morning. So, what troops get left behind? There wasn't any discussion about the embassy. They were putting the finishing touches on $1 billion embassy there. What troops would be left behind? Those specifics aren't clear. But I think what is clear is that there is a willingness to start to at least send the message to Iraqis that, hey, we don't want to be there for forever. We don't want to build permanent military bases, and that we want to start bringing our troops home. And I think that has the effect of changing the scenario that we're seeing inside of Iraq, which I think is as important to seeing the changes that are happening up on Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm. I spoke this morning with a member of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense, who has been involved in all of these discussions, and he said that that Iran is a prohibition on an attack on Iran is in the bill. We know that Senator Jim Webb has introduced a freestanding bill in the Senate and intends to work to get it into the supplemental over on the Senate side. So that looks like that could very likely be in. Also, there's a provision in this proposal in the House that would require the government to abide by the Geneva Convention on torture, which obviously is a good thing. Also, a 15% cut in increments, first 5%, then 10% cut in the amount of money being given to contractors, to those private security forces, and then no permanent military bases is also a provision. But as you say, we haven't seen the details in writing. We're still waiting for those. As a matter of fact, as we speak, which is late in the afternoon on Thursday, the Progressive Caucus is meeting up on Capitol Hill. They had a meeting earlier this afternoon with Speaker Pelosi to talk about the differences between what they're calling for and what is in the leadership recommendations, perhaps seeing if they could find some common ground.
And we haven't even, other than mentioning Senator Webb's name, we haven't talked about the Senate, where I saw a news report today saying that Harry Reid was just about ready to roll a piece out there that was going to be a consensus piece from the Democrats on that side. I heard March 2008 timeline associated with that, which matches up with that of what the Iraq Study Group was reporting. So There's clearly going to be competing proposals on the House side. There's going to be competing proposals on the Senate side. I think what we need to keep in mind is that there are some deadlines that are being proposed that seem fairly reasonable. Perhaps they're not as quickly as we would like, but all are set up with the focus of being able to bring the troops home in a safe and timely manner. So that our focus needs to be on keeping the pressure on the members of Congress to include these deadlines and to really push Republicans who are saying that Duncan Hunter was on the press conference this afternoon saying that we didn't need to set any deadlines and that this was micromanaging the war, and we need to say this isn't micromanaging the war. There hasn't been enough accountability, there hasn't been enough oversight, and it's time for a timetable, and it's time for us to know when our troops are coming home, and it's time for the Iraqis to know when our troops are coming home.
It's very interesting. I spoke with some Republican members today, what their reaction to this, and some of the provisions, particularly providing significant funding for health care for soldiers coming out of Iraq and rehabilitation and some of those investments, of course, that have created the scandal of Walter Reed, and of course there's investigations now about other facilities. The combination of all those things has them thinking that perhaps there could be the range that has been given to me today, anywhere from 10 to maybe as many as 30 Republicans might be convinced to sign on and support this proposal in concept. But several have said to me, but we haven't seen the fine print. We want to see very concretely what is being proposed. So
it looks to me that you have the Democrats really working hard on trying to come up with a consensus proposal, and that's probably what's going to hit the floor, which means that I think that the strategy continues to be to really hit on the Republicans, to hit on those that are could go either way on this, to keep reminding them of the fact that when you look at polls in the U.S., people are overwhelmingly in favor of a timetable for withdrawal, and to really hold them accountable for that.
Yes, exactly right. So what we need to do right now, things are moving very quickly, but the good news is progress is being made. Maybe not as much progress as we would like to see, but clearly progress is being made. And the message, I guess, for everyone to convey to their members of Congress is just keep the pressure up, keep moving in this direction. We're going to keep following this very, very closely. We're going to have regular updates on the website as we get information. The plan right now is for the bill to be voted out of the Appropriations Committee next Thursday, 1 week from today, and then have that bill on the floor the following week. So between now and Thursday is when particularly between now and Tuesday, when the bill is formally part of that Appropriations Committee, and then it'll be voted out on Thursday. This will be a very important time. And
the timing couldn't be better for us. You know, on the 19th, we'll be marking the anniversary for the 4th year of war.
That's right.
You'll have people in the streets for that, and this is a way for us to also bring that outrage on the streets back, to focus that on members of Congress for them to bring the troops home.
Exactly right. So, big time, very important to hear your voices on Capitol Hill. Call, write, email. We're making progress. We've got a long way to go, but we're making progress. That's it for this edition of the Anti-War Room. Erik, thanks a lot for being part of this on this side of the camera. And we'll be back early next week for an update here from the Anti-War Room, but keep posted to the website. We'll keep you up to date. Thanks.